Welcome to another PC Systems edition of NCIX Tech Tips. Today's system is the Vesta i5-3370. This is an all MSI system with a special emphasis on custom cooling, great performance, and a very reasonable price point. Clink, clink. As always, we're going to start with the outside of the case. So you got your front I/O, which is your usual power reset, indicator LEDs, 2 USB 2.0 ports, 1 USB 3.0 port, and front panel audio. Another neat thing about this case is the fact that it includes fan controls at the top for the front fans as well as the top fans, and those have 3 settings, low, high, and off, as well as an SD card reader, which is something that I really like to see. Not enough cases implement that these days. This case is all about airflow, so the entire front of the case is mesh, giving lots of breathing room for those 2 120mm blue cooling fans in the front, and then the top is also mesh as well. So I mentioned control for top fans. This particular specimen doesn't have fans installed there, but you could optionally add them to your build. So 2 more 120mm fans can be accessed once you pull off the top, again, filtered mesh cover. On the side panel, you find what has become pretty typical for gaming cases these days. I'm just going to adjust that there. You've got an LED lit side panel. That's a touch from us. And you've got, you can see the guts of your computer if you're into that sort of thing. Personally, I love the LED side panels. I think they make your gaming machine really pop and stand out. In terms of rear I/O, you've got, again, a pretty standard mix, so a PS2 port, 6 USB 2.0 ports, gigabit Ethernet, HDMI out, 2 USB 3.0 ports, DVI and VGA out, as well as 7.1 audio out. For the video card, we're using a GTX 660, so that means you've got full support for 3 monitors in NVIDIA Surround plus an auxiliary monitor using that graphics card. Now, you don't have to use the graphics card output. You see you got lots of video outputs between the back I/O and the graphics card. That allows you to use Intel's Virtue feature to use the onboard CPU's graphics core to do things like video transcoding, and your actual dedicated graphics card from NVIDIA for your gaming. Now, if you're going to spend $1,000 on a gaming rig, you better have some pretty sweet hardware inside, never mind what's on the outside of the case. So we start with the MSI GeForce GTX 660. This is a non-TI version, so that does mean the performance is a little lower, but there's some overclocking to be done here for sure, especially given that it's using a Twin Frozer 3 cooler. That means dual fans, propeller blade fans for more airflow, and a super pipe allowing the heat to be carried more efficiently away from the GPU itself. For the CPU, we've gone with an Intel Core i5 quad-core. However, because this is the 3470 non-K SKU, it does not support overclocking. You'll get great stock speed performance out of your CPU, but you won't be able to overdo it in terms of cranking things up past the stock speed. Now, the MSI Z77A G43 is a value-oriented board. It provides any of the performance you'd get from their higher-end boards, but maybe with fewer of the frills and extra bits that you'd see on something like a Big Bang M-Power or on their GD65 level board. So it's a perfect choice, again, for a value system. Kingston HyperX memory is provided in an 8 gig configuration, and Kingston's also a key part of the storage setup for this system. So we've got a 64 gig V200 SSD and a 1 terabyte WD Blue storage drive. That gives you the performance you need for application loading because we're using a blue drive instead of a green drive, and 64 gigs is just enough to run a Windows 7 OS and an application or 2. However, if you were going to make some upgrades to the system, I'd probably go with a bigger SSD. We round things out with a Seasonic 80 Plus Bronze power supply. This is a 520 watts, so you'll have room to grow. And it should be noted that while it's not a modular power supply, the cabling inside MSI's Barricade case is very tidy due to the cable management holes provided. Now, I think the conclusion for this system pretty much writes itself. It's a $1,000 system, so yes, compromises were made in order to hit a price point. If I was going to make some changes, what I would probably do is I would increase that storage SSD for sure. So you're going to want at least 120 or 128 gig drive for your boot SSD if you really want to install a lot of applications and games on it. However, games will still run adequately off of your hard drive, no problem at all. Just something to note. CPU, I would also upgrade to a K-series SKU and then overclock the stink out of it. You've got a very good power supply in here. You've got an Arctic cooling cooler in here. You've also got a Z77 motherboard, which means the system is otherwise overclocking ready. So go ahead and throw one of those in there. Have fun. The 3570K would be a great bet. I would also consider stepping up to a GTX 660 Ti Power Edition from MSI instead of the 660 that's in there. The Power Edition can overclock to the point where it is competitive with overclocked GTX 670s due to the design of that card and the cooling provided on it. So those are the changes I'd make, but other than that, is this offering pretty much the best value you can get at $1,000? I believe so. Thank you for checking out this systems edition of NCIX Tech Tips, and don't forget to subscribe.